So our first look at set 2 just dropped, and Quinn has the best level up animation clearly so far, but how good are scouts? Will this be a keyword that makes a splash in the upcoming meta, or is this something that will just sit as a back burner and need some buffs? Let's find out.
Still heart, steady aim. No one escapes my aim.
So up front, we have a new keyword. This is going to be the first new keyword we've had since the game's introduction, which makes sense. Set 2 is right around the corner, and I'm actually really excited for it. So if you love just attacking, forcing your opponent to have answers, Demacia is very quickly shaping up to just the play big dudes and attack type of region, which is fine. Every card game needs one. So Scout, whenever you attack with only Scouts first, you get to ready your attack again, or that rally key is the key term that gets to be used, right? So in this case, you're going to see a few more Scouts. You can set up that first attack with just them, pass back to your opponent, they're going to get a priority, and then you can have a full board getting ready to swing again. So if you have anything like Cythria or the Battlecaster Arena, something that gives you the more on-attack benefits, there's a couple different tricks that you can do and layer your attacks where you're getting in 2 or 3 attacks per turn. But how good is Scout? Are these units going to be strong enough on their own, or is this something that's going to need a bit of support, and we have to wait to see maybe another region gets Scout, right? So this is only 5 of the 10 Demacia cards that we're getting, so I'm really excited to see what else we get out of it. So up first we have Quinn. There's no shortage of 5 drops in Demacia, so this feels a little rough, but it has the Scout keyword, which means that you're going to get multiple attacks in. And what I really like about this is that it comes with Valor, right? Her bird companion that has Challenger, so yes, you're paying a lot to put this onto the board. The 5 spot is usually pretty competitive in your opponent playing an answer, then maybe having a battle trick, but now you can make sure that Quinn is getting through for an attack thanks to Challenger, and because you're in Demacia, you might have some other challengers as yourself, or you might have a prismatic barrier, just other ways to save her. So at a 3-4, it might not seem that great, but again, keeping in mind you are getting 5 power for 5 with Valor. Yes, it's going to die, and that's just how it is, but it does again give you that extra attack, which can be very powerful. Now the downside here, right, is that when you attack 4 times, you get to level her up. So off the bat, right, I'm not expecting this to level up a lot. You really have to build your deck in a way to, one, keep her on the board, and then keep her on the board long enough where that's going to happen. So it's going to be rough, and is it worth it, really, is what it comes down to. So same stat line, you're getting +1 attack, +1 health. But on attack, you're going to bring back another Valor and pull their strongest unit out of the way. So this is really great at helping clear the board for your scouts. Maybe you want to attack first, right? Or if you just play another Valor as a token you're about to see, that's another way to get more units on the board, more attacks. But again, it's very difficult. So I think this is off to a strong start for what the keyword is going to be adding. But I'm really curious to see what other tools that we get where you've kept this on the board for 4 turns and you're winning the game because of it. So I'm really curious to see where this one goes. I think it's a fine, first look at a new archetype for Legends of Runeterra, but I'm not sold on the level up and how much of an impact it's going to have without very heavily dedicating your deck towards it, right? And that's probably fine. This is introducing new decks, new mechanics into the game that really play on their own and have their own unique identity. So maybe you put it with Lucian to get even more relentless pursuits. Maybe you have other things. Maybe Shenpo comes back, right? And that's a card I'll let everybody look up. Who knows? But obviously, you're going to want this in a deck that can both protect it and produce extra attacks per turn. Then beyond that, we do have the spell. So when you have extra copies of Quinn in your hand, we're going to assume this turns into the spell equivalent, but this is a guaranteed spell that is going to bring in Valor for you. So as a 2-drop, you get a Challenger. It's another Scout, so the Scout relevancy there is as well. And then, of course, if it's the Quinn version, it's going to cycle a version of Quinn back into your deck. Now, technically, based on the spoilers, that's not 100% confirmed, but based on this information, I would just say, hey, it's confirmed at this point. So fine spell, the different levels of playability that we see in the champion spells. Heimerdinger is a really great one for Progress Day. And then some of the other ones, are just, yeah, I'm going to shuffle it right back into my deck. It doesn't really matter type of thing. Anivia with Harsh Winds, another great one that comes to mind. So I like this because it adds another Scout onto the board, which again can help you get those additional attacks that you need in for Quinn. But a 2-cost 2-1 Challenger, I think it's just fine. So I think this is very, very middle of the ground based on how impactful Scout is on the turn that you play it. Getting it from there, we have our first unit, beyond that, that's going to have Scout as well. So that has Scout and Barrier, which means, that first damage it takes is going to get absorbed thanks to the Barrier. And what does it look like stats-wise? So it's a 3-drop 2/2. It has a lot of keywords on in this case. That's fine. The one that stuck out to me on this is that it has Elite. Elite and Scout so far don't really seem to play well together, other than the fact that you're in Demacia, you're playing a bunch of big units, and maybe that's fine. So I'm really curious to see if this makes a splash in a meaningful way thanks to Elites. I'm assuming not. I'm assuming that you're playing this because of Scout and has Barrier, which can be really nice. And it's one thing I want to mention here. An open attack is so strong, and by playing to this mechanic, you technically lose out on that power if you have some kind of hybrid deck, right? So let's say you only have 2 Scouts on the board, maybe you're only swinging for 4 power. A lot of the time you want to be swinging with multiple units, multiple battle tricks that you can be holding up, and really push through some sort of, pressure, right? Now this is going to open up, and of course you'd have to play around it then. You lose out on, let's say, Ruination, right? If your opponent is on 6, they have the 3 spell mana banked, chances are you can't just swing with your Scouts, give your opponent an opportunity to respond, and then swing for like 20 more damage, right? That's not going to work a lot of the time. So maybe you have Deny backup. There's just different ways you have to play it. So I think there's something to be said about, yes, I think Scout is very strong. A lot of people are saying, oh my God, power creep, it's overpowered. I don't think it is. I think it plays very fair and balanced in terms of how the interactivity works. Now, again, if you put them in a spot where they have to Ruination and you have the answer for it, great. You've done well in that spot. But I think Scout is going to be just strong enough to make a splash, but not be as, oppressive as everyone thinks it's going to be. But I'm very happy to see it. So for this one, I kind of rate it lower than the other ones. Well, higher. It's the middle of the ground, I guess, technically between the 3. So it's in the middle, not counting the champions, because champions have to stand alone since they have a unique deck slot. But pretty middling for me. We'll see how it goes, and I really look forward to getting what other cards that we're going to end up getting for this. Now, the card that I think most people will agree is like the stealer of this announcement, and hopefully get more spoilers tomorrow, is Grizzled Ranger. This is nuts. So it's a 4/4/1, but it has that last breath where you're getting another unit behind it. So what this means is, let's say you played another Scout, so you're tagging in 2 Scouts. This is going to kill a blocker, a key blocker on your opponent's side. Yes, it only has 1 health. Maybe they have a Vile Feast. Maybe they have a ping effect. What have you. That happens. But let's say you have a Radiant Strike. You can protect it that way. 4 attack is a lot. That pushes through a lot. I think it pushes through almost every unit on that presence, except then like Legion General, right? And current spoilers. So 4 attack is nothing to sneeze at, and then we're still getting a 4/4 on the back end of it, so we're still getting a unit back to our hand. I think all around, I'm surprised that this is a rare, but it also makes me think, if this is a rare Scout keyword that we're getting, what's the epic gonna look like, right? Assuming we get an epic, but this is super playable. It absolutely helps the archetype. Maybe a little strong, yes, I'll admit, but this is the type of power I want to see, and that keyword pushing that we have, like, really make this strong, impactful, and make me excited to play this archetype. And this card, checks all the boxes for me. So again, following up with a 4/4, really strong. We know that it's going to dodge, most removal, right? Mystic Shot doesn't kill it. Get Excited doesn't kill it. Maybe we'll get some new type of removal that hits for 4 in the next set. We'll see. That'd be a huge deal if we do. So, Loyal Badger Bear doing some serious work for us in helping pull this all together. And then the last kind of key Scout we have in itself is the Great Horn Companion. And, this one, I like it because it's very beefy, so it's okay to attack with it first. But I'm not sold. And I think of like the tier of those 3 units we've talked about, I think I put this at the bottom end. And only because this directly competes with Quinn, which again, you're not going to have every time. But 5 is such an important turn in Legends of Runeterra right now that I don't think you can simply afford to play this, attack with it, and then try to ready up your attack, because there's so many other lines of play that your opponent's going to have that can potentially punish you. And that's just in the current meta. That's not even including the 119 other new cards we're going to get, or whatever the math comes out to be again, right? So there's a ton more cards and considerations that we have to take in here. So I'm not sold on this. It's just a common, maybe it is, but for the archetype overall. So again, keeping in mind that you do want a heavy concentration of Scout cards, I think if you're trying to build this archetype, you play this anyways. I'm really hoping we get other regions that have Scout, like it might be a splash like we've seen. Again, the Fiora Shen deck goes across 2 different regions, plays very well together. I'm wondering to see what's going to splash well with Demacia in this case to try to make this, maybe a little bit more playable. I think it's off to a very good start, but I'd love to see some more spoilers for this. And then here's a nice little infograph here at the end. So overall, I think the Scout keyword is going to be, just strong enough where you're going to be able to find it as probably a tier 2 deck. I'm not going to say it's tier 1 right off the bat, just because I think the losing, so to speak, your opening attack is scary for a lot of matchups, especially if they're a removal or board wipe heavy focused deck, and that could be a huge downside for this. But that said, every deck you're going to play, you're going to have some type of bad matchup at the end of the day. That's just how it is. So Grizzled Ranger, Quinn, I think fine. Valor Spell, maybe not so much, but you're probably playing it anyways just because you have Quinn. And then Green Fang and Greathorn. Hopefully we get some better units. I think Green Fang is just interesting because it's an early play, so it gets you those early double attacks. And then keeping in mind, it has barriers, so you can just freely attack for 2, ready your attack again. And then maybe you have like a challenger unit that clears the way for 2 more damage. So I really do like Green Fang as more of an enabler. And because, again, it is a lower curve. I think this definitely wants to play out as more of that aggressive type of deck. And then Quinn with trying to get 4 attacks in. I'm not sure. So let me know what you guys think. If Quinn is going to be, a tier 1 champion, you think that the Scout keyword mechanic is very strong, or do you think this is just something that's going to get overshadowed by some of the other spoilers? And again, we don't even know what the new region is, and there's at least one more keyword coming. So, I mean, it's all guesses at this point of what we're going to say. So at the end of the day, I'm going to give this like a solid 3 out of 5 in terms of, playability and I think overall impact. Will that change? It's absolutely going to depend on if other regions get Scout, if there's other cards that come together that can really help push it through to the end. But otherwise, we'll see, and we can see how strong this is going to be at the end. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. But otherwise, be back tomorrow with some more Legends of Runeterra content. Hope you guys are looking forward to it. And like I said, starting to build up the channel again, and we'll get through it together. So until next time, take care.